more about this administration with Trump?
Look at that.
Good, bad, the ugly.
Sad. Honestly, the first thing that I would say is that it makes me sad because obviously I spent a lot of time helping Trump get elected, trying to help Trump get elected, and Trump is...
I see a photo right here, yeah.
Yeah, he's a part of my political story, right? A part of my political awakening, if you want to call it that. And it feels to me like when he said, what Epstein files, you know? Are we still talking about the Epstein files? It was just like we were so close. We did everything we could. And we were supposed to be fighting a swamp. And then what happened? What the Loch Ness monster, which is Israel, rose up and swallowed our hero whole. So it makes me sad. And I think we all can very clearly see what has happened on the basis of who is now supporting him. The literal Never Trump movement is now supporting Trump and telling us that we're radicals, the people who initially supported Trump.
I would suggest to look up the people who are really pushing for Trump the most right now, the Never Trumpers, as she just said. Lindsey Graham, Ben Shapiro, even J.D. Vance, the vice president. A lot of these people who are the most loud, Mark Levin, are the ones that were the Never Trumpers from the beginning. And now they are acting like they are the spokesperson for the MAGA movement. And that's why a lot of people are saying the MAGA movement, we didn't leave, they left us. They really turned into MAGA, which is Make Israel Great Again. Israel has taken over this administration. And they say, why do we talk about Israel so much? It's so blatantly obvious that they own you guys because you always bring it up. Like, it's constantly through my X feed, anti-Semitism they're talking about. We support the Jewish people. We always support your right to live. It's when you push it on politics and pass policy decisions off a foreign country is when I have a problem with it. And because we're saying, hey, maybe spend our taxes in America and focus on fixing our problems at home, they label you as anti-Semitic and then claim they're MAGA while they're saying we're not real Republicans. It is crazy. And these people have big platforms. It amazes me these people have a single viewer these days.
So there's been a complete flip, and they're trying to use this mechanism of psychology to convince us, oh, we just got here, but we noticed this rot, which is the original MAGA movement. It's completely ridiculous. Their tactics aren't working. But I think it also indicates to us that there is something very scary and sinister that is in DC, right? That turns good men, it like petrifies good men that go in maybe with the best of intentions. And then they see something else. Like, what happens to these people? We don't know. Like, where is, I mean, day in and day out, Kash Patel and Dan were saying, we're going to do this. We get to the FBI. Now they look petrified. They look petrified, actually. There's nothing here, actually, to see about these Epstein files. What are you talking about? You kind of made your show off of what needed to happen with the Epstein files.
Yeah, as we know, back in the day before Trump won this second administration, Kash Patel was one of the most outspoken people in regards to the Epstein files. The stuff he was telling us not to believe and to keep questioning alongside with Dan Bongino, they're now telling us to accept those same narratives. It's just mind-boggling. End of the day, they were supposed to go after the deep state. Day one, I'm going to go into the FBI if I'm elected in the cabinet position, which he was. We're going to eradicate the whole FBI. See none of that. Actually, we continue to see the same type of lies that the FBI has been covering up forever, now in regards to Charlie Kirk. Kash Patel needs to be fired, and I used to be a huge fan of Kash Patel, but the minute he got into this position, he sold out.
So it's sad.
So if you were to rate him, because people have asked me this question, so now I get to ask someone else. What grade would you give him right now at this point, based on,
D.
you know, obviously the Epstein files? I agree with you. It's a huge debacle. It's going to probably be a huge negative in his legacy at the end of the day. If you had to grade his presidency of so far within what we're 11 months in roughly, what would you say?
So I would,
before she answers, let me know what you guys would rate him. I'm giving him a D. I would give him an F, but they did secure the border, so I'll give him props on that. But besides that, almost nothing out of the campaign promises we were promised has been delivered. Their main focus has been foreign countries from the get-go.
I'm biased. So if you're asking me to grade, you know how you would have those teachers where if you would take a test and they would automatically flunk you if you didn't put your name on the paper?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The Epstein thing for me is like automatic flunk if you don't put your name on the paper, right?
Gotcha.
So if like I'm a mom now, so this was the most important thing to me, was figuring out where the pedophiles are in our society. And
that was your number one voting.
This for me, becoming a mother, because you have to remember Epstein, and I did a partial series, a mini series on what we discovered about him. He just got pulled through the ranks, right? Bankrupted Americans. Same thing with the Maxwell family, bankrupted people in England, and was allowed to do this. He had absolutely no background. He was given access to children. He had an office on Harvard campus, despite only having a high school diploma, which I can't even verify his high school diploma, if I'm being honest with you. And this was going to show us everything. He had access to Hollywood. He was working with Weinstein. He had some notorious fight with Harvey Weinstein right before Harvey went down. So now I'm kind of going back in my mind and thinking that's a question I should probably ask Harvey Weinstein, is what they were fighting about. And he had access to models. I mean, this man was just handed the keys to Les Wexner's empire, which even how that empire started has got a shady story with a guy who said that Les Wexner was the literal devil. He was the guy who controlled Victoria's Secret. He said, this man is evil. And then suddenly that guy jumps off the Golden Gate Bridge and decides to give his company to Les Wexner. That doesn't really make
Also, they just opened up another new investigation in regards to Epstein with Pam Bondi. She hired this guy named Jay Clayton, I believe his name is, and he is literally tied to Epstein. They think we're stupid, like we are not in the information war where we can look up where these people's history was in the day. There's no reason this guy should be even in the case at all when it comes to Epstein. But what do we expect? Pam Bondi is a swamp rat. Oh, she is disgusting. She needs to be fired as well.
Sense. So we had this rare opportunity to really understand how the Matrix was put together, in my view. And Trump took us to this line and then balked. And I'm not sure why he did. Okay. Maybe it's because he almost survived an assassination attempt. He survived an assassination attempt.
Yeah, two of them.
Two of them. And maybe they put him in a room and said, here's how it's going to go.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to try not to judge him because I don't know what he is going through. But for me, the Epstein files was a name on the paper.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts
and
on
it should piss you off regardless who's in the administration, because these same people that were in the Epstein files are the same people that run the world, not just our country. I'm talking about the whole world. And now another administration, I mean, even his own kids, Trump's own kids ran on the Epstein files. And now they're covering it up. It is unacceptable. And if it brings down the whole system, that is what we need, because the whole system is screwing over not just Americans, but people worldwide. We deserve better leadership. That's it.
current news? Because it just resurfaced again. They're, in the process right now of getting everything classified. I understand that there were a bunch of emails that came out. And it's coming back up again. I can tell because I'm seeing nothing but CNN clips on it. Anytime they love to hit Trump when it comes to this Epstein thing.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on the latest information that came out recently with the emails and everything else like that?
When he initially balked on discussing Epstein and Pam Bondi did the whole crazy bit, I was told that it was because there was donors he was protecting, and that makes sense to me. I have never felt, and I'm a pretty good vibe person, Trump's not into kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the nature of the emails, was he at a party when people should just think about that. When people say, oh, they exchange, like he was on his plane, never on the island, but like was on the plane, or was it a party? If you were at you live in Miami. If you were at a party, the idea that somebody could be at any club that you are at or any party that you are at has somebody that's underage and looks like she could be 18, and that doesn't really track to me as any evidence of anything other than the fact that he was at a party once, and Jeffrey Epstein was very clearly running a sophisticated network and a blackmail ring. So I don't think that whatever they have on Epstein with Trump and Epstein is going to implicate Trump in any of that stuff. Yeah. And I've been around him. Trump has a type, and I have never felt that vibe from him at all. But I do think he's protecting some of his donors. I do believe that, because I look at them and they just creep me out. And he took a lot of money from Miriam Adelson, the Adelson family, hundreds of millions.
I don't think Trump's in the Epstein files. I think that he has donors that are in the Epstein files and friends and world leaders that he does stuff with when it comes to policy decisions and talks that are on the Epstein files. And I do think it will bring down the whole system. If Trump was actually, involved with kids, I think that the Democrats under the last administration would have released it, and they didn't. But that doesn't mean that you should still protect these pedophiles, because again, they run our world. And until it's dismantled, nothing's going to change. Nothing will get better for us.
from Miriam Adelson. And I think that's kind of the beginning of everything. So when they started leaking these emails, I read it as like a public threat to him. Maybe they're arguing about something in the background and he's holding the line on something. So because they obviously have all the Epstein stuff. He was their blackmail guy, you know? And so if people don't listen, they probably do a little trickle. That's how I read it. I read it as like a public threat and they want something from him and they're going to be like, capitulate or we will hit you with everything they have. And we need to have a leader that just comes right out in a press conference and says, they have this about me. They've been threatening me with it. I'm going to tell them to release everything and I'm going to hold the line. People would cheer. We wouldn't even care. We'd be like, okay, like as long as you are not implicated in harming children, right? I can deal with you being at a party that Epstein was at and finding out that whatever it is that they have on you. That's my gut instinct about the whole thing.
Yeah, no, I agree with you that I think he doesn't give me the vibe that he's like doing that type of thing with children. But I do think that maybe there's something in there that looks really bad optically. And that's might be why, or to protect donors, like you said, because I look at it like if there was something really bad like that, the Democrats would have exposed that during the Biden administration if there really was. So, that's another thing as well. Speaking of the Zionist lobby, we're talking about Miriam Adelson and Epstein and everything else like that. Last time we spoke, you were literally like a week or two before you left Daily Wire. It's been a while now. And obviously a lot of things have transpired, right? You've had a meteoric rise. Congratulations. Meanwhile, your opposition, Ben Shapiro, has had a meteoric downfall. Can you kind of take me through?
If you guys haven't seen, Ben Shapiro is in free fall. And it's because he loves a different country more than he loves his own country. And the way that they go about it, instead of debating or talking about it like a grown adult does, which is debate, have open dialogue discussions, they call you an anti-Semite, they call you a neo-Nazi, they call you this, they call you that, and then they try to cancel you. And people see past that these days because we had the cancel culture mob for the past 8+ years. People are sick of it. Never bend the knee, never apologize. And then if you don't do that, not only do you not look weak, you come up victorious because more people will come and watch you. More people will have respect for you. Now, on the other end, the people that are canceling, they're losers. And that's Ben Shapiro, followed by the Daily Wire, who, as we know, are Israel first shills.
Through that day of what happened when, because I remember you had been in Miami for a bit, and then I think you might have went back to Daily Wire for like a day or two, and then they said, hey, we're going to get rid of you, blah, blah, blah. Can you kind of take me through how that all transpired and how you've been able to kind of use that cancellation from their perspective to just utterly destroy them and flip the roles?
So, gosh, I was fired in, March of 2024, and I obviously was very surprised about it. I did not know it was coming. Look, even if I sensed it was coming, I would have never have thought that it would have happened in the way that it happened. I would have thought that we would do everything that we can to keep things friendly. I mean, you don't want to work for any company. It's just unprofessional to want to work, to dedicate years of your life to any company and not have things, even if they're not on great terms, you still want to make it as peaceful as possible.
TMZ reported, and I have to ask you this because I've always been wanting to ask you this. They reported that one of the reasons why they wanted to get rid of you is because you did the show with us. And when we talked about Jews, we hit the sound effect, the cha-ching sound effect, and I guess that infuriated Ben Shapiro. Is that true? Or
I know where that leak came from.
Okay.
And it came, gosh, am I allowed to say anything about this? She no longer works for the Daily Wire. And I think she was behind that leak. Yeah. So she no longer works for the Daily Wire. So that was interesting. I can neither confirm or deny whether or not that is true.
Okay.
But what I will say is I would have never expected that sort of a PR. I mean, it's just the opposite of the way that I am. I mean, I've worked with several companies. I've worked with PragerU. I have obviously a lot of disagreements with them now, but I had a very peaceful working relationship with them. They treated me fantastically. I've said this 1,000 times. Like, what I think about them now and what their contributions are to what we're fighting, I could never go back and say like one bad word about how they treated me. They were really good employers and very communicative. I ever had an issue. I mean, I think my contract with PragerU was like 2 pages. I'm not even kidding. It was crazy. Marissa never even wanted to talk about contracts. She's like, if we ever have to talk about the contract, she was like, you should probably leave because like I don't want you here if you're not happy.
Yeah.
Obviously had a very great relationship with Charlie Kirk, Turning Point USA. So for me, having never had any sort of a debacle ever in my life, in terms of working for people, it was it was new, it was global, there was so much happening, and I didn't know if we were going to survive it. Genuinely, my husband and I, it felt like it's like trench warfare. Your every move, you're not even thinking about the implications. It's like, I just have to put one foot in front of the other and fight, 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 fight. And I first and foremost just grateful to God that my husband was just rock solid. I think if my husband had shown even a fraction of apprehension, fear, anything, I probably would have come apart. And this again gets back to the importance of marriage, because there are things that men are designed to deal with. Women are designed, like I was good on the psychology games of what they were trying to do, but in terms of just getting down and building the infrastructure and like, okay, we need to rebuild the podcast. We got to do this. We got to figure this out. We laugh now. I mean, even because my team came with me, which was something that was also a huge blessing. I'm so grateful to my team, because I went to them and I was like, I don't know if this is going to work. We can't offer you health insurance. We have nothing. So if you leave the comfort of where you are taking a risk.
Yeah.
And we don't know where this thing is going to end. And also we're like being banned from society also.
Yeah.
So the chances of this podcast working when we're banned from everywhere, even YouTube demonetized us, it was slim to none. And they were just like, we're coming with you. So to look back on that, it's just a tremendous amount of gratitude and appreciation for the audience, my team, and first and foremost, my husband, you know.
So he helped you through that process. Because I remember like it was all over the place, and you know, obviously there was an enormous amount of pressure, but you were able to use that to your favor. You get let go from Daily Wire, you start up your own thing. And, you know, obviously this topic is a very controversial topic when it comes to Zionism, Jewish power, and these other things. And it led to some things. What red pilled you on this topic that made you say, I got to speak up? Even though this is a very taboo topic, you can get, you know, like you said, deal with demonetization, cancellation, losing an employer. What made you say, I got to speak up on this?
I want to get into heaven. And I
would say for me, before she answers, it was a couple months ago, and it was listening to Candace Owens, Charlie Kirk, and of course, the top guy who's critiqued Israel from the beginning, who was canceled for it in his early days, Nick Fuentes. A lot of people misrepresent what Nick Fuentes says, but he is the truth when it comes to Israel. He might be a little extreme, but we need to be extreme. Our politicians screw us over. We need to be more radical. We need to demand more. We need to stop accepting the bare minimum from our politicians when it comes to helping Americans. Our taxes are literally funding this foreign country, and they get free everything. We have homeless Americans, homeless veterans, drug epidemic, homeless epidemic, crime epidemic, food prices are high. Where's our taxes going to make that shit lower? We were promised the tariffs would do it. Okay, we're bringing in money. Now they went from $6,000 Doge checks to $2,000. Not only is it $2,000 now, we're not getting it till mid next year. And you want to know why that is? And again, I voted for Trump 3 times, but I'm not going to be fake. They're doing it right before midterms because they think it will get them votes. Because if they had the money like they say they are, where's the money at right now? Exactly. It's hogwash. They've literally sent Israel billions. Argentina bailout. We are talking about still funding Ukraine. We are passing bills still. I guarantee this administration, if you looked into it, has sent billions overseas to any other country where we could have spent it on our own country and fixed our own problems. That was a huge wake-up call for me about Israel. The past few months, just seeing how much the Republican Party is obsessed with them. AIPAC also owns 98% of our politicians on both sides. So that should tell you something right there. Israel owns our government.
People don't realize that that's real. Like, I think people who are atheists don't understand that a part of this whole psych operation was to make you an atheist. Because if you knew for certain that when you die, there is more, which there is, you would be living your life differently, right? I want to get into heaven. And so at the very moment that I know anything is true, I can't tell a lie, right? So when I was working, and giving the example again for PragerU, I genuinely, first off, wasn't up on the topic of Israel. It wasn't kind of a common discussion. There was no pressure on me to get out there and say things that are pro-Israel. I just genuinely believed it, in the same way that I tell people Charlie Kirk just believed it. There's no conspiracy. He just was like, yeah, Israel, I'm a Christian. And obviously Israel has biblical connotations, and so I support Israel almost like it's a periphery.
Yeah, it's like a
in the
default
periphery.
setting
Yeah,
when
it's
you're
a
in the
default
conservative
setting. Yeah,
literally, yeah, in
it's
the
a factory
GOP
setting.
Yeah,
And people who attack that and assume that everyone's in on an agenda should stop doing that. At the moment that it kind of became and I would say after October 7th, they were kind of demanding that you take a side. I watched Bassem Youssef. This was truly the mental turning point for me. He went on to Piers Morgan and it went viral. And he held up this paper where he showed how many deaths there were every year of Palestinians versus Israelis. And I will never unsee that. And he was being totally a jackass about it, was just kind of using humor, which is the best tool, and being like, so what's the equation of how many lives are worth? So I'm going, okay, so I'm supposed to believe these are the evil people, but this is how many people. And then I had Norm Finkelstein on my show at the Daily Wire because I was like, let me go to someone who actually is not an anti-Semite, right? His parents survived the Holocaust and he's a professor who was denied tenure for a ridiculous reason because he's committed to telling the truth about Gaza and he wrote so many books on it. And that to me was like, wow.
so that like red pilled you on the topic, like seeing the death.
And we're almost expected, as Republicans in today's society to just like agree in lockstep that we're just going to support Israel. And then the same politicians that call us anti-Semitic for not supporting Israel can never give like a legit argument on why it's good for us to fund them. Do you guys know that a new mother in Israel, newly mother, she gets paid a monthly payment every month until that child is 18? Guess where that money comes from? American taxpayers. They get free healthcare, right? Guess who that comes from? American taxpayers. Yet our healthcare rates are skyrocketing, but our taxes fund free healthcare for them. That's why still till this day, when people are like, how can you not support Israel? You're anti-Semitic. I never hear legit argument on why we should support Israel. It's just they're our number one ally. All right. Why are they our ally? What exactly is it that they do that benefits American people on a daily basis? They can never give you an argument. All they say is you can't question that. You're anti-Semitic. It's like arguing with a spoiled little brat child. And, I know people are waking up in records amount. I see both sides. We are sick of Israel. And they constantly say, why are you just talking about Israel? Because you guys talk about Israel every day. If you didn't talk about Israel, if our taxes didn't fund free everything for Israel, then we wouldn't be speaking about it. It's literally that simple. Also, this should piss you off. Their soldiers get paid more than our soldiers do here at home. And guess what? Our taxes fund that as well. So our taxes fund their everyday lifestyles while we have homeless veterans and homeless Americans on the street. That should piss off every single American.
Mm-hmm.
What other ways, I guess, has the Zionist lobby came after you? I've seen ADL articles. I've seen SPLC, right? They target me too.
Oh gosh, it was everything. It was everything. Did
they lobby to get you demonetized on YouTube too?
Absolutely. Yeah, that came from the Awesome Jew.
Yep.
The Awesome Jew, who was in attendance, by the way, when Charlie got peer pressured in the Hamptons.
Mm.
And yeah, it was just a full court. They were like, just start mass reporting her for violence and violent rhetoric. And they did that. And then I had no strikes. And then I went to all strikes overnight. And YouTube demonetized us. We were demonetized for 6 months, I think. It was like September, maybe it was 4 months. And so that was, can't make any money on YouTube. So we had to we had to then build our own website, which we did. Mm-hmm. So what it forces you to do is to become your own power center, right? If you ban people everywhere and you say you can't, you're not allowed to fight in this realm, we're going to start building our own realms. And I think they're learning that lesson, is that there seems to be the opposite thing that's happening. So they would attack us on YouTube. They obviously got petitioned to get me fired, banned from Australia. They went after like my family members. Obviously, they tried to pretend that there was all this friction between me and my husband's father, and that could not be further from the truth. I love my husband's family. They have always treated me very well, but they wanted that narrative out there because it was part of the cancellation. Is even though our own family hates her. No, we have different viewpoints. Yeah. People can support Israel. People cannot support Israel. You don't marry into ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, they are taking over like all the social media apps. If you could tell, like it was around the same time that Ellison bought up TikTok, which by the way, I've gotten strikes on TikTok. My account has almost been banned multiple times just for critiquing Israel. I've gotten like hate speech violations. I've spoken about the Tucker and Nick Fuentes sit-down interview. Didn't say anything about violence. Didn't talk about any killing, nothing. Just talk about the interview, my opinion. And then I got copyright strikes for, what did it say? It said extremist, violent comments. They're literally just making up shit as they go on. And then you see on X at the same time, you have this huge Israel like campaign propaganda push on the X platform, and people weren't falling for it, because I'd see a lot of these profiles come out of nowhere, and then you would see their comment section, and it's like a 85-15 ratio, 85% being against Israel, saying, we know you're lying, we don't believe you, we know you're getting paid $7,000 a month, which Israel is paying these influencers $7,000 a month to push Israel propaganda talking points. That's how pathetic it has gone. The younger youth, the younger generation is the future. And I feel like they're more educated than when I was their age. And I am so happy about that, because the younger generation is the future. And, you know, it is really important, I think, to be educated on politics and policy and what's happening, not just in this country, but around the globe. And yeah, they're asking tough questions. If you ever watch these Turning Point USA clips that have been going very viral recently, the main source of question is Israel.
Of course, there's nothing wrong having disagreements.
Right. And I'm just thinking what else they attacked. It's been nonstop. And then of course the lawsuits, you know, nonstop legal lawfare.
So right now, you know, between you, Tucker, Nick, they're attacking all three of you guys, saying, "Oh, you guys are anti-Semites and you guys are pushing this whole thing." And I give credit, because you three have done an incredible job of, you know, awareing the American public on this topic when it comes to Israel's control of the Middle East, what they're doing over there, how they've been able to get away with this for so long, killing people and no one knowing. And, you know, they've been targeting you guys quite a bit. And I see that, you know, there's been a bunch of drama with Megyn Kelly and Ben Shapiro and everything else like that. What are your thoughts on the entire on the situation? Because, like, you know, anytime they mention Tucker, you're right there, right, when it comes to the criticism of Israel.
Yeah, even Bibi Netanyahu.
And I love that Megyn Kelly, and I'm not a fan of Megyn Kelly, but she recently stood up for CANDACE Owens, because Ben Shapiro lied and said that she accused Erica Kirk of being like involved with Charlie Kirk's assassination. And that's just a lie. I've critiqued Erica Kirk. May her husband, Charlie Kirk, may he rest in peace. I loved him. I didn't agree with him in regards to Israel. It is very tragic what happened to Charlie Kirk, but it is weird behavior coming from Erica Kirk, and that's all I'm going to say. She could be grieving in her own way, but all I know is if that happened to my significant other, I wouldn't be in the spotlight right off the bat. I would be with my kids. It's really that simple, but that's just my opinion. Obviously, some people go through grief differently. But it's crazy. Yeah, crazy times we're living in.
Checking us. It was crazy.
Yeah.
On the TikTok thing and why they needed to buy TikTok, they're letting you know this is a psychological operation. That's what they're telling you. They've gone masked down, and they've just come more inward. I have no idea why they kept attaching me to Tucker Carlson. They wanted both of us gone, and
Mark Levin loves you.
Yeah, I know. They force fired Tucker. They force fired me, and then they realized, oh, we can't control them. And we started having to build our own power centers, and they didn't like that.
And they made you guys bigger.
Exactly. So, and then with the Nick Fuentes thing, I promise you, I had never heard the Nick Fuentes backstory until after I was fired from Daily Wire. There was this Twitter audio or X audio space that he did with Jeremy Boring, who at that time was the CEO of Daily Wire. And I heard the backstory. And I was like, this is insane. Like, what happened to him? Nobody can look at that backstory of what happened to him and not realize that it was just evil.
They did everything they can to contain him. It's ridiculous.
It's like he had his life ahead of him, and so you kind of root for that. You're like, no matter how I feel about him, I root for him against the Zionist lobby. And this rule that you can't speak to Nick, why can't I speak to Nick? Can't my audience decide whether or not they want to listen to him? There's this false idea of platforming him, that somehow that's going to be harmful, and you can't platform him. If I platform him, and Nick seems likable, right? And then he goes on his show and he says horrific things, and my listeners then go over to his show, they're not going to keep listening to Nick.
Yeah.
They're actually then going to have questions about me.
Yeah. Let the people decide.
Let the people decide.
Yeah.
You don't get to think for people.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as platforming ideas. If people are following that idea, that is on the people. And they are smart enough to make their own decisions. I don't need to tell people to listen to Nick, to not listen to Nick, to platform Nick, to not platform Nick. If I want to talk to Nick, I'll talk to Nick. If I don't want to talk to Nick, I don't talk to Nick. And there's something about the true free markets that Zionists can't stand. They're constantly manipulating the markets so that people think that they are number one, and they're not. They actually require censorship in order for them to be number one.
Yeah, yeah, and that's their game. And and you know, I seeing
they think that, like I said, like shadow banning or just banning anyone that they don't agree with when it comes to Israel is going to make these people like go away. That's why Candace has the #1 show globally right now, because she is not bending the knee. She is putting out the truth. She is actually doing more work in regards to solving Charlie Kirk's murder than this our own administration. And it's sad because, again, I'm a 3-time Trump voter, but the Charlie Kirk, how Trump and this administration has handled Charlie Kirk, covering it up, not releasing any updates, I feel like that is such a big FU to Charlie Kirk, because as we know, Charlie Kirk was the groundwork for Trump getting elected this administration. He was the one that went and talked and debated these children. He was the one that had the groundwork and had the huge following with Turning Point USA. And how does Trump repay him after this? Literally his first interview, like I think it was like a couple days after Charlie Kirk's passing, may he rest in peace. He's talking about getting the dance hall in the White House redone. It's just not a good look. And Kash Patel, you are a joke of a man. You are a scumbag. Trump should have fired you so long ago. Same with Pam Bondi. I don't get how he's making the same mistakes that he made in the first administration when it comes to allowing these neocons, these swamp creatures, to infiltrate the MAGA movement. And now it's just turned into MIGA, which is just make Israel great again.
A meltdown. You know, they had the Republican Jewish coalition a couple weeks ago, and just saying like, oh, these people are platforming, whatever. I find it interesting how like they never like, because when you guys, if you actually listen to the interviews that you guys do a lot of the times, it's like, oh, this makes perfect sense. I understand like why you have this worldview. They never criticize what you guys talk about, right? They always criticize you guys directly, saying they're pushing anti-Semitism. Well, what are they saying that's anti-Semitic? Oh, well, it's just anti-Semitic. And they don't even want to have the discussion, the debate,
usually the truth
or anything. Yeah.
Yeah, because when you hear Nick Fuentes' backstory, it's compelling. It just is. I was compelled when I heard it. I actually haven't gotten around to watching his interview with Tucker. It's on my to-do list this weekend, but I'm assuming he told his backstory.
Yep.
And then people look at it and go, what is up with the Zionist lobby that they're going after 18-year-old kids for questioning Israel? That's actually what they're fearful of, is people understanding just how long this has been going on, how vicious it is that it will even go after an 18-year-old who's just asking questions literally. And yeah, I think that's what it is. It's the mass awakening that's happening.
Yeah, no. And
you know, one thing I absolutely love, and I'm going to continue to say, is Nick Fuentes is taking over the culture war, and he is holding it on his back. He is not bending the knee. He is the loudest, and I absolutely love it. That's why when it comes to reviewing any political content on this channel, I probably react to Nick Fuentes the most, and that's because he is real. That is something we do not see in our politicians. This is what I say. The politicians are very nice up front, but behind the scenes, they do nothing that we want us to do. Nick Fuentes, he's very loud, maybe a little bit mean, but he's telling you the truth while he's not lying at all behind your back. Who would you rather have, a loud but truthful person or a nice but fake person behind your back? Always that loud person, because you know what? He's going to put those fake politicians in place too by calling out their bullshit. And Nick Fuentes got canceled when he was like, what, 18? Daily Wire took him under their wing and just said F you to him the minute they critiqued Israel. It's not going to work anymore. And that is, you know, you see these like neocons, fake MAGA types, saying that if you are a groyper or you follow anything Nick Fuentes says, then you are a Nazi. They're calling me a Nazi. It's just hilarious. And I feel like it's just such a crazy way to think and grasp just the political world. It's gone insane these days. And, you know, that I do believe there is a woke right, and that's the new MAGA movement. I need to stop saying MAGA. It's MIGA at this point. Make Israel great again.
Charlie Kirk, because you're definitely one of the most outspoken people when it comes to the Charlie Kirk investigation and what's going on there. Obviously, you knew him personally. You guys have worked together for many years. I'll kind of just turn it to you, and you can just tell me, because you've been looking at this for a while now. It's almost it's over 2 months now. Can you take us through what you think happened on that day, what led you to believe that, and the timeline in general, who you think is actually responsible, who might be covering things up and everything like that?
Yeah, so I can tell you that I view the Charlie Kirk assassination as a military hit. I do not know who called the hit yet, but it's military. There's no question in my mind that it was a military.
Or foreign, or?
Well, I don't view the U.S. military as being controlled by the U.S. I mean, there are a lot of people we've been globalized for a very long time. I don't know that there's a difference there's decisions that are made in Ukraine for America. I mean, this is the tentacles of the U.S. military.
And real quick about Charlie Kirk's assassination, I would suggest everyone look at Candace Owens' video she put out yesterday on YouTube, where she actually not just debunks, but exposes that it was an Egyptian plane that was pretty much involved with the assassination of him. If you guys remembered, on the day of the assassination, there was a plane that left that was actually right by the school where it took place, and then they turned their radar off. Like, you couldn't track where they came or where they went afterwards. It was an Egyptian plane. Supposedly, Candace has an insider that was there. And I suck at putting it all together. I would suggest go look at her video yesterday. She sums it all up. But Israel has a tendency, if you look in their past, to almost like co-op and pretend like it's a different country, and it's always the Egypt, and it's really Israel. And she exposes that in the video from yesterday. But I do think it was Israel. If you just connect the dots, look how the Israel shows are acting if you question the narrative at all. Look at the $150 million that Charlie Kirk denied right before his killing right there as well. How the Turning Point USA members have acted since and covered up for ever since. Also, there was taxes that they didn't pay that was exposed the other day. They look like they're committing fraud. They're giving themselves these huge raises without having the money or income to be able to pay it. Also, donors are starting to take over the organization again. I'm just saying there's too many crazy coincidences to where I'm not thinking. I do think it's Israel. You couldn't convince me otherwise. And there's just too many things that are checking that box off for me. Let me know what you guys think. I do see a lot of people that I trust and value their opinion thinking it's Israel, but I like to know people I don't talk to, or people who may be watching, what you guys think. Do you guys think it was Israel? I for sure as hell do.
It's a much broader and longer conversation that needs to be had. I mean, I think since JFK was assassinated, I don't know who's in control of anything, right? Much of what we see in the political realm is just an illusion. We're talking about what's happening in Congress, and decisions are made in boardrooms, in my view. With Charlie, I think that with everything that I have uncovered, there was very clearly a faith infiltration that happened. And I'm putting faith in quotation marks, because Charlie would have believed the people that came to him and told him to grow the organization and, to become the boots on the ground for faith. He cared very deeply about his faith. And the characters, the cast of characters and the pastors that are around him, rotten, like very rotten. The McCoys, Rob McCoy, unbelievable.
Also, not to mention, it's been exposed recently, not only is Israel taking over these platforms, they're also paying churches to push Israel propaganda. Churches. That breaks my heart, because you think they would have morals and not do that, but it just shows you that almost every type of organization can be corrupted by money. Very sad.
Rotten, and I've been covering a lot with him. And what it's looking like is that Calvary Chapel has been accused of tons in the past, and also accused of hostilely taking over well-meaning faith organizations and ministries, with Rob McCoy at the center of some of these scandals. It's looking to me like Turning Point's apparatus provided an opportunity. Now, who they're actually working for, what they're actually doing, I don't know. But I can tell you it is not about Jesus Christ. Okay. And this would explain why, for some unknown reason, Christian Zionist influencers have been losing their minds about the idea of investigating the Charlie Kirk assassination. It's odd. Like, I looked up and I'm going, why are Christian Zionists trying to use Bible verses to say that.
Yeah, you would think if they were truly their friend, they would want to know the full truth. But I do think there is a big problem with these transgender kids that are pushed and indoctrinated at these young age. I think they are influenced very easily, but I do not think in this situation with Charlie Kirk, that is what happened. Candace has also already proven that the kid wasn't even there that day. So you have an innocent kid behind bars while this administration releases no new news. They're covering up a murder while lying about it. What do you think what do you think should happen to Cash for that? I feel like that's against the law. You're literally hiding an investigation, lying about it too, while you're part of the president's administration. Shouldn't you get arrested for that? I mean, you are an officer of the law and you're lying. So you're violating the rules in the law, you would think. But we know Trump's not going to, because so far he hasn't even spoken about it. They haven't even spoken really about Charlie Kirk unless Erica Kirk visits the White House. And then it almost seems like it's like a setup just to make him look good. And, you know, again, I was a huge Trump fan, but the longer this goes on, it's harder to defend Trump.
We shouldn't question anything. I mean, everybody knows you were a cop.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing you do when there's been a murder is to look around at the money, the finances, and the people around him. Common sense. Like, and then you pair that with the actual impossible things that they are telling us. It was a Christian miracle. His neck just stopped a 30-06 from 150 yards away. It was just your modern Christian miracle, you know? That's Fed slop, but it's worse than that. It's Christian slop. People using the Bible to psychologically convince you, you know, Jesus performed miracles, and this was just one of them. Charlie loved his faith. They're lying about weird stuff. I consider it a clue that they are lying about where Charlie was at in terms of his faith journey. They lied about the Hampton Summit. They lied about the fact that he had said, I have no choice but to abandon the pro-Israel cause. I just watched them all lie because I needed to see where all the stakes were. These are weird lies.
Yeah.
The one thing that connects all of these lies is faith. So that's where the focus of my investigation is right now. And I'm coming up looking and going, all of these characters are dirty that were around him. So you're not going to hold up a Bible like a false prophet and tell me not to look here, or else I'm going to be condemned to hell. Because let me tell you how the Bible works, okay? Christ is king. What that means is truth is king. And if anybody is using the Bible to tell you not to pursue truth, you are dealing with somebody who is manipulating you.
Who do you think?
And also, the Israel crowd has literally came out and said, if you say Christ is king, that is anti-Semitic. They just call everything anti-Semitic these days. Like, come up with new material, bro. Like, it's just pathetic at this point. They don't even... Do we know who killed Jesus? I would say look into it. It was Jewish people, unfortunately. Do you know who the Rockefellers were? They're the ones that controlled the schooling system, the government, the politicians, Jeffrey Epstein. Do you know who Ghislaine Maxwell was? Do you know who her father was? They were Mossad. They were Israel CIA intelligence who were running these blackmail operations. Do you know who we bombed Iran for? On Israel's benefit, for Israel. Like, everything always goes back to Israel. Like the Iraq war. Do you know what started the Iraq war? Bibi Netanyahu, Israel's prime minister, was on record since the early 90s. I've reacted to this clip saying Iran's 3 months to 4 months away from weapons of mass destruction, yet they never provided any proof. Yet we went to war Iraq for Israel's benefit as well. It always leads back to Israel. Prove me wrong. You won't.
I know you said the people around him, but who do you think is the most responsible? Why would they want him gone?
I think Charlie was not allowed to be anything but a Christian Zionist. And he was changing in the last few weeks. When I look at the timeline that I put together, some weird stuff, this Egyptian plane that was started tracking him everything began ratcheting up after Tucker Carlson hit the stage. And
in July.
Mm-hmm,
oh yeah, I was there for that. Yeah. That pissed him off.
That was a something.
Yeah.
So I think Charlie was done, as Megan showed the video. He was telling Tucker to go max. All of the things that they lied about, we've now proven. And why were they lying about it? That's why this is the thing. Why lie if you have nothing to cover up? That's my common sense here. You only lie because you have something to cover up. No matter what the lie is you only lie because there's something that you're hiding. So if they had all come out right when Charlie died, if Seth Dillon, who pressed Charlie in the Hamptons, was like, oh my gosh, my biggest regret is the last time I saw Charlie, I was being such a jerk about the Israel. They were so stupid. And this is a reminder that you never know when you're going to see somebody last. It would have been like, oh, okay, nothing to see here. It was like a full court press effort to lie about everything. Josh Hammer, he never blinked on Israel. He was on the text message chain where Charlie said 48 hours before he died that he was done with the pro-Israel cause. Why lie? That's my question.
They're lying because they're complicit with it. They are all complicit with it. They've sold their soul for those $7,000 a month checks from Israel. They know who controls our government, the country they fight the most for. They should all just move to Israel. Since you love Israel so much, move there. I've just never got the obsession. You're obsessed with the country that you don't live in. But Josh Hammer, he is a disgusting human being. Him and Randy Fine, who, by the way, Trump is endorsing. Randy Fine, he is one of the most extreme Republicans I've ever seen run for Congress. This guy has called Tucker Carlson the most dangerous anti-Semite in the world for sitting down and interviewing with Nick Fuentes. These people should not be in any positions of power, and it's embarrassing that Donald Trump even endorsed this clown.
And I don't like the silence from Turning Point employees. I know for a fact one of them, I'm not going to name, has a text message from Charlie the day before he died saying, they are going to kill me.
Wow.
Now, he was not referring to the trans lobby when he wrote that message.
Yeah.
So why not present, if you are his friend and you're interested in the truth, why wouldn't you tell the public that? Wouldn't you just come right out to the public and say, hey, I don't know what happened, but like Charlie thought they were going to kill him. I do not like the way Turning Point is behaving. I've made that clear. And nobody is going to emotionally manipulate me and tell me that it's all good now. And to attack Turning Point would be to attack his legacy.
Mm-hmm.
Charlie told me years ago that he had, which I shared the messages, he was having a ton of visions and was telling me that Turning Point was going to be the death of him. He knew he was going to die young. And strangely knew that I was going to be the only person to defend him, right? I showed the messages.
Yeah.
I showed the messages.
They tried to say it was fake and you pulled it up and yeah.
So we're here. We're here now. And I'm going to defend him. I'm going to figure out what happened.
What are your thoughts on how Erica Kirk has been dealing with this and some of the people that are close to him, his manager, Mike and all them? Like, do you think they're just playing a role? Do you think they're involved? What are your thoughts on them in general? Some of the people.
You know, this is a touchy subject because we know she's a widow, and like I said, I was a fan of Charlie Kirk. I didn't agree with him on Israel, but that doesn't mean he was not an amazing person. He was an amazing person, and he brought God to the forefront into the dialogue discussion. But Erica Kirk, if you look into her past, it's pretty dark. Not dark, but I would say questionable. She was contracted, I believe, with Donald Trump when it comes to the modeling or the pageant events that she did. And then on top of it, if you look at her parents, I believe her mother worked for the Israel government and her father worked for Vanguard or some government company. And it just doesn't look good. And I feel like when it comes to how she has not really gone out of the spotlight, you would think she'd be more with her children right now than these interviews, these public appearances. Like, it's not a good look. I'm going to leave it at that. And, you know, I think it's like a 50-50 chance that what she's doing is real and then the other half isn't real. And as I said, I know it's a touchy subject, but I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it that she's grieving right now. And again, I'm probably wrong, but you know what? I go based off what I see, and I've seen a lot of stuff, and I don't buy it with her. And it's sad because, you know, Charlie Kirk didn't deserve that. I cried the day he got shot, and it is a tragedy. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Curious what the public thinks.
In his closest circle.
It is obvious to me that Mikey McCoy was the person that they wanted to launch as the new Charlie. That's very obvious. The way they brought his YouTube channel back with a speech from Mikey, and everyone was kind of trying to soft sell Mikey to us and was like, who's this kid? You're 23. Why are you the chief of staff of anything? You didn't go to college. Who are you actually? and you're brought in by Rob, your dad, who is dirty. I mean, very dirty guy. I covered more of that yesterday. He just gives me the sleaze and the ick. And it just is very strange that I felt like they tried to manipulate us into accepting this, almost like they had like, Mikey's going to be this person. Then we see Mikey, he's a hero, and he just walks away right after somebody, like, that doesn't make any sense to me. And yeah, you know, with Erica, a lot of people on the internet have been going into her past, going into her parents' past, and, you know, just speaking about these things.
Israel defense contractors, parents, stuff like that.
Yeah, I've seen all of that. I respond to that on my show. And what I've said to everybody is I'm starting with what happened on that day, what happened leading up to his assassination, and the people that catch my attention are people who are telling verifiable lies, okay? Erica thus far has not told any verifiable lies. She did not lie about the fact that he had St. Michael on him when he died. So there's two things. She could be on autopilot, and some people could be reading that the wrong way and thinking, oh, well, she's not acting right. Okay. Is she on autopilot because she fears something? Right. Again, we don't know what's happening behind the scenes, but you have to have some level of fear if you watch somebody get assassinated. I don't know. I just don't know.
Yeah.
And so people have been upset with me for not going, you know, down the rabbit hole on my show about Erica's parents.
Also, all the interviews she has done, I understand she's a Christian woman. There's nothing wrong with being Christian or, you know, using the Lord's name. But it's like every question almost is followed up with an answer that's almost like, what's the term I'm thinking of? Like scripted. It doesn't seem original. And then the way she wipes her tears. And again, I'm a conspiracy theorist. I look into stuff sometimes a little too much. But you know what? Erica Kirk looks a little sus to me, how she's acting. Very sus. And
people's parents are people's parents.
And with the ties to her parents, even more sus.
They haven't yet come up in my investigation. If I find out that her parents were involved, and then it's going to catch my investigation. And there's nobody that will be spared once they come up, once they tell a lie, once I come across something. I just literally have not come across anything with Frank Turek. Also, I haven't come across anything with Erica in my investigation. So,
the shooter or the alleged shooter, you think they're a patsy?
Of course, they're a patsy. I mean, come on, it's just so dumb. He wasn't even on campus that day. They can't show us one clear image, not even one. All of these cameras, Turning Point has everything in 4K. So shouldn't you have caught the shooter on the roof in 4K? Like, you had cameras everywhere that day. Every inch of that campus is covered. So you think that was
someone else that was running across?
Absolutely.
It wasn't Tyler?
Absolutely. Okay. Someone that just sprinted. I don't even know if there was a person that sprinted that day, because everyone's forgetting there was also a news report that came out a week before that somebody was on the roof, and a professor came out and waved the person. Now, they may have been dropping off a gun, dropping off a screwdriver. I don't know.
Because there's one video, like one of the students had panned out where he was running. But that person who
took that video that I had to track down, military.
Really?
Everybody's military in the story.
Really? So the person that captured that, because I remember when it first broke out, that cell phone footage got released where the shot goes off, and for some odd reason, he's looking at the roof, and you see like a little speck running on the top. So that person that took that video was military.
I got in touch with the person, and they didn't put the video up themselves. I had to go through 3 people. I'm like, so I'm supposed to believe you're like a college kid and you have nothing to do with anything. You just decide to randomly be like, oh, I got this video, but I'm going to send it through 3 people to have it released.
Interesting.
And also the Losey building, where the shot definitely did not come from, is the only place on campus that houses, I believe on the 3rd floor, according to my source, like the military something is in the Losey building. So there's a lot happening. All of that was just a show to mask who the real shooter was. I think it's way more likely that the shooter was in the audience or to the side of the audience. I think that's the more likely story, because he wasn't shot with a 30-06 first and foremost, and the bullet did not destroy his neck. I know that for a fact. And he actually
30-06 throws everybody off. But
that was their plan.
Yeah.
Until I accidentally, which I didn't even process it at the time, revealed that the bullet didn't go through.
Yeah.
And then they kind of were like, oh, it was just a miracle. Actually, it was no 30-06.
Yeah. The text messages are a bit strange too. And, this whole situation, I wish the government was being a bit more transparent, because this has an incredible amount of public interest. So it's like, look, dude, you guys probably should be more transparent on this, because government trust is down at its lowest when it comes to people trusting law enforcement, whatever. What are your thoughts on how the FBI and the state police are handling this? in general? Because I know you've been
I think
critical of
what's
Kash
way
Patel.
more important is trusting Alexis Wilkins as a sensational singer, and the people like,
be careful, she might sue you.
I don't want to talk about like the feds right now. Like they're doing what they have to. The more important thing is that this sensational country singer is left alone. We are just not a serious nation.
By the way, that's Kash Patel's lady, who I believe is like 25 years younger. They're saying she's a honeypot. A honeypot is, they use these other countries. It's like a CIA asset, FBI asset, like a hot woman, a good-looking woman or man, to go after a person in a position of power. For example, the leader of the FBI, which is Kash Patel. And they're saying she's a honeypot and that she's involved with Israel intelligence or with the Israel CIA. Now they're going after like America First, people that I follow, journalists, and suing them for defamation just for, and I guess he didn't even make this claim. So I'm just saying this is what I hear in case you come after me, Kash Patel. You know, Kash Patel needs to be fired. He should have been fired a long time ago. I wish Trump, who is known for saying you're fired, had enough balls to fire the people that are messing up in his administration, because it is messing up him in general and making him look weak for keeping these traitors around.
I think if Putin's FBI director or put that out, Putin would just quietly have him assassinated or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But we're just not a serious nation. That is just, they are tweeting like girls on TikTok right now. And it's embarrassing. It is so embarrassing. He should have been forced to resign. Trump should have made him resign for embarrassing us, because there's no way Putin's not laughing with his homies right now about that tweet. My girlfriend, my life partner.
Yeah.
We are.
She sued a bunch of people. It's crazy.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And obviously with his blessing. With his blessing, or you would say, hey, honey, not now.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, this is a bad time.
This is a bad time. I've got to be taken as a serious man.
Optically, yeah.
Yeah. And of course, the opposite thing happens now, where everyone's now calling her a honeypot. And so what's she going to do? Like whack-a-mole, just sue everybody on the internet who's making a joke, sue Tim Dillon or something?
Yeah, it's absolutely nuts.
Well, a lot of good stuff talked about in this video. Let me know what you guys think. There was about 15 minutes that I skipped in this video, which had to do with other stuff that was kind of irrelevant to the main source of the video that I wanted to show you guys and react to live with you guys. And that was Israel, Epstein, Trump, Charlie Kirk, and yeah, pretty much the Zionist lobby and their hold on our politicians and our government. Hope you guys have a great night. See you on the next video. Peace out. America first all